much work someone can put into a game and really progress and really get those PBs down, get the time down overall, as long as you put the time into it. But we are off. Let's get some text mashing away.
Early on in the game, not a whole lot for our runners to do to save a whole lot of time. A couple things they can do to optimize things like button mashing, though. You can mash pretty much all of the face buttons when you're going through these text boxes, but you can also use any button on the entire controller to clear the last one. This will be more useful once they have the Pegasus boots to avoid doing accidental stutter steps.
Yeah, it's actually been pretty fun, like, memorizing the amount of text boxes throughout the entire run. So you're walking into a section, you're like, all right, 143. All right, that's old man. Okay, I can remember that. And I still use like all the face buttons for like the first set, and then I just mash L and R for the last text box. And it's been working out pretty well for me.
I did recently find out you can use the D-pad buttons as well.
Yeah, I like that. I wonder what is optimal. What do you think is the most optimal?
If you just take the hand and just slam it over all the buttons, just roll your thumbs all over it, see if it works. Maybe that'll be the fastest way to do it. It's probably
you just shake the controller really fast, and that worked too.
I hear you can win some really popular MOBAs doing that too.
Usually just use your face for that kind of thing, but.
Oh, you're right. You're right. There's a technique.
But we digress. I mean, obviously, we've all seen several of these runs coming in. A lot of these guys are doing very obviously similar openings, trying to dodge a lot of these guards. The RNG, you kind of have to judge them a little bit. Timings don't vary because you don't have the Pegasus boot, as you just said. So we're trying to utilize small movements like getting out of the way of guards, pumping a little bit, which is something people have gone back and discussed. But it's when you're moving in certain directions, you're able to kind of tap your right or your left against the walls to add a little bit of movement, a little bit of speed for you.
Speaking
like
of
right
that,
there.
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
Against the rail up here, as you can see on Shaerila's screen, and also as they move throughout the various guard patrol paths here. Kyong unfortunately missing his spins on that guard.
And of course, a nice utilization of that instantly found boomerang to grab the small key, and it does carry its way through the door transition. So, does it carry all the way through if you go, or does it you try and time it right at the same time you transition?
I was always wondering, but I've never managed to not pull it through, so I'm assuming so.
There are instances when you can miss that boomerang coming in, but usually it's a very, very large window. It's very easy to not miss that.
It looks like all of our runners so far are opting to go for the 8/ technique, going upwards towards the ball and chain guard. Except for Shaerila, who throws a pot.
Something that's been kind of a little more popular, some of the other runners, like Greenham will do this, where they'll do the one pot 4/ in the corner. It's a little more consistent and not really much slower at all.
To be honest, I do it because I always lose a heart by now.
Safety seems to be like one of the best. The more consistent you can be, the better.
I mean, the thing is also in this, since this is a race format as opposed to like, you mess up, you reset. You can't really reset in a race, so we're going to be seeing probably a lot more safer strats throughout the run. Of course, I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
Yeah.
But
we are looking at some of the faster runners in this game, so I mean, it's going to be exciting to see which things they do abandon and which things they don't.
And you know that, I mean, as we'll discuss later with some of the safeties, like you're saying, some of the better runners I know I've spoken to have decided to take some of those safeties that they wouldn't normally take on their PB rounds.
Such as like the powder, maybe bottle and bug net, but I mostly just probably the powder. I know there are some runners that don't even pick up the Sanctuary Heart at the end of Sanctuary, so.
I happened to commentate Benteezy's match, he did, and I was shocked.
That's the easiest safety to pick up.
But that is a man with an iron nerve. I don't think I could ever do something like that. Is whew, oh man.
Yeah, I believe out of the 4 runners, Greff is the one with the best time out of all 4 of them. Somewhere around the 120. I believe you said 127 or 8. I don't recall.
128.16. Yes, and Kyong's right behind him at 128.33. So with the 17-second difference between their PBs, this should be really exciting on the left.
In this tournament, the 128 bracket seems to be a very, very popular time for people to show. All the cool kids are doing it lately, so a lot of these guys are in it very, very close. Make this some very interesting matches, even in our group stages.
Are we going to be seeing any sub 6 minute escapes tonight? For this race, at least?
I'm gonna say that all of these runners will get sub 6 or very close to the line here.
I think you can run into at least one rat and still get it. Maybe 2. Depends on how much pumping you're doing and whatnot.
The animal lovers out there can do 3. Got 1 Northwest Key Rat on this one, so.
It's especially that part that Kyong just came out right there. You never know if those rats are going to go up, they're going to go straight right, and
Shaerila unfortunately getting some bad key rat RNG. Having to chase it down the hallway, unfortunately.
That's unfortunate, yeah. That one can get away from you. I have to say, I think Kyong was the only one that got the sub 6 by 1 second, so give a little... It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Little golf platform.
Little golf club. And Shaerila not too far behind. There's still plenty of time left in this run. But yeah, escape is pretty well optimized. You can't really determine how the run's going to go just based off that first split. Or can you?
From the looks of things, though, I believe Shaerila is relatively new to the NMG community. We didn't have a bio filled out for Shaerila. However, the PB posted on speedruns.com for the official leaderboard is only 23 days old, so it looks like we're relatively new to the run. It should be exciting to see if we can pull off a PB in this run.
Yeah, that's always nice. Because it's like, as we were saying earlier, taking safety strats and whatnot, it's not as easy to PB in a tourney race when you're taking extra steps to stay, competitive, stay alive and whatnot. But it's always cool when you can grab a PB on the way.
We've been seeing a lot of them this tournament, and I expect to see a whole lot more even as we narrow things down.
Yeah, so the next part of the run is going to be heading over to East Palace, or Eastern Palace, where we're going to find that bow. Pretty safe adventure through there. Nothing really too dangerous going on. But the best part about it is leading up to getting the boots afterwards, which most runners, I think, is probably the best item in the game. Next to hookshot, yes. Debatable.
Yes. There's like a lot of the movement through this area, through the eastern front yard, I'll say. Up the stairs is all about good pumping and just not getting hit by all this stuff. Because you definitely want to roll into Eastern with full hearts, because you definitely need to use that life as a resource.
And while the trick pumping, can only save a handful of seconds over the course of a run, sometimes it really counts. Like, you'll see on Shaerila's screen, if you can do it correctly, you can actually avoid this blue guard entirely from having to boomerang them.
Oh, there you go. Just like that? That looked like it.
Either that or the timing worked out correctly anyway. All of our runners seem to have handled the skeleton room pretty well. Very nice trick that you can do in that room. They all spawn in a very specific pixel location if you walk across them. And if you throw pots in the exact right places, you can kill 2 instead of 4 of them, and you can do it almost instantaneously.
That's always been a trick that I can explain, but I have no idea why it works.
My understanding of it is that the skeletons don't become active until you walk across certain tiles on the floor or certain spaces that are basically triggers for the enemy. And if you throw the pot at the right time when you step across it, you'll just kill it before it even completely spawns.
Alright, coming up here is going to be a little damage boost to hit this switch without having to kill all the enemies in the room. Usually you only need a heart and a half to get through it, but a little too quick to leave or walk off of that switch, not getting it, so gonna have to grab a few extra hearts here. Might just opt to kill all the enemies instead.
It's much slower, but it's definitely much safer. But I know a lot of runners don't see those backup hearts that are right there that are good to utilize if you miss that skip. So good on him.
And it's always better to clear the room. I mean, to die in that room means you gotta go all the way back through the entire rest of this dungeon. The most punishing death that you can really have in the first half.
Here's Shaerila coming up on this skip. We kind of got jockeyed out of the way by that Popo, so might have to go with the. I was going to do another enter and retry. Okay.
Oh, that actually resets the room. I didn't know that. There we go. Hey, rinse and repeat. Eventually it'll work. Yeah, I didn't realize that. That resets. Cool.
So now the room that Greffery just did, those skeletons can be so trolly with where they go, so sometimes you have to be chasing them around and it's a pain.
Yeah, if you're lucky, you can just turn. They'll both stop like around the same time, and you can just pop 2 arrows into them. And let's see the quick kill on Greff's side. As long as it doesn't take damage or anything, it's gonna be able to kill that the last one before it turns red, but a little too slow on the pole, so having to use an extra 3 arrows.
As it turns out, it doesn't benefit our runners to mash the bow as fast as possible. There's actually a delay between when you can shoot the next shot. If you are mashing at the wrong time, you might actually delay your final shot, and that's why Greff had to pump extra arrows into it.
Yeah. Because as far as I know, you can only have 1 arrow out in the... Only 1 arrow in play at one time. The arrow has to land before you can shoot another one.
Also, you said you get to see really cool on Shaerila's seat. Well, she's kind of having a little trouble with the greenies at the moment, but when you come up those stairs with the anti-fairy in that room, there is a heart in the bottom right that some people don't know about to grab, just to keep it a little safe.
Yeah,
we might see a route divergence here.
We'll definitely grab the 2 arrows in there, just to be walking into... Because you want to have as many arrows going into the next dungeon as possible. Yeah. Want to explain the differences in routing here, with the rupees and whatnot?
Yeah, for sure. So in the back of Sahashla's hut, he has been hoarding cash and bombs in the back of there, and some runners will opt to take the 100 rupees out of the back of there because in order to enter the first palace in the Dark World, you do need 110 rupees for a greedy little monkey. That we'll get into a little bit later. There's also a route later called tree rupees that allow you to pull money out of trees based on how many enemies you kill in a row without taking damage. Now that route is much more optimal, saving some time. I know Greenham in the chat will help us out with that. But it is a little tighter and a little more difficult to do. So I know a lot of runners opt for the safe strat of taking Sahas rupees, but some of these better runners may not opt for that one.
Yeah, it's also nice if you still do the Shaerila route to just have extra bombs for later. Because you can never have too many bombs. Unless you want to save, like, 1 menu in Mire.
Which, yeah, I mean, it's going to switch over to the next item anyway, so some people do exactly that. Counting their bombs, even through the bomb jump in Palace of Darkness as well. We'll end up seeing prize pack manipulation come into play later on as well. Greffery was going to be looking for a fairy drop all the way in Turtle Rock at the very end of the run compared to where we are good hour from now.
Yeah, it just gives you an idea of how much time there is if you get the rupees from Shaerila's hut as opposed to going for tree route rupees. Because I believe DT was ahead of Greff leaving Eastern Palace. That could also include just overworld movement and whatnot, but...
So Shaerila is showcasing the back rubies as well. As also 2 get runners on showing us back of the house rupees. Because here at Speed Gaming 3, we like to showcase all the strats that you can use at home.
Yeah, coming up is Desert Palace. It's a pretty straightforward dungeon. We're getting the gloves here, which will allow us to get to the boss in the back, and which probably one of the least enjoyable bosses in the game because of just RNG and whatnot. But everything in here is pretty straightforward, back and forth, back and forth. Grab a key, grab the big key, grab the gloves, go to the back. So.
This is one of those dungeons where I would pay a handsome ransom for the mirror here, the amount of backtracking you have to do through this dungeon.
Oh, that'd be nice.
It's alright though, we get revenge on this game when we get to Palace of Darkness.
You mean Mirror Palace? There's so many mirrors in that one.
Palace of Mirrors? Is
Palace
this a commercial?
Now, a lot of times players will go for a little thing called spin speed. I feel like it's been explained a lot. Did we ever explain it earlier?
I don't.
But take that one away for it.
I mean, you do a thing and it makes you go really fast. That's the easiest way to put it. If
you're not wrong. I mean, that is actually pretty accurate. As far as the actual glitch itself goes, though, it's what we do is we're going to hold a spin, like a sword spin, and the frame after you release it, you have to start up a dash by hitting A. And if you do that, you actually cancel the spin animation, and the game gets confused. It thinks that you're in spin speed, or you're able to dash at all times without having to charge up a dash. All you gotta do is touch a manual ladder or any kind of staircase like that doesn't automatically make you go up or down, and you'll be able to move around the screen at ridiculous speeds.
Yeah, it's nice time saves, especially a little bit later on once we get up into Death Mountain. You saw it also from players leaving Sahasrah's hut, and of course it's something you can do once you get the boots. But as well as like going to the library and back, and then again later, you'll see it again after we get the flute. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because coming up next is going to be land moles. Now, what's so great about this boss? Nothing. There's nothing great about this boss. This boss is horrible.
If you like snakes, maybe this is your thing. If you're into horrible, horrible activities, this may also be your thing.
If you really like Dune or Beetlejuice.
If you like missing a lot of arrows, that's another one.
Do you like losing your run most of the time?
Do you prefer 3 cycles, 5 cycles, or 7 cycles? Actually, I don't think it's been a hot minute since I've seen a 7-cycle land moles.
Do you enjoy more cycles than you get blue balls later? Then this is the run for you.
Maybe that's the RNG manipulation. You get more land mole cycles to reduce your blue ball count later. That's not a thing.
No, I'm going to go to the lab for that, though. I'm going to try that out.
Okay, good.
Look forward to watching this fight. You see Greffery tried to do the first cycle where you pump a whole bunch of arrows into the predetermined pattern. You'll see Kyong do this on the same screen. The position that they start is identical every time for the first cycle, but the direction that they travel isn't. So this is an extremely RNG heavy boss. To do this in 3 or even 4 cycles is pretty decent. Most top runners are pretty happy with that. You can do it as fast as 2 though if you get really good.
Yeah. And this is what I mean about missing arrows. If you miss an arrow, you gotta wait till that arrow lands before you can shoot another one. So far often than not, if you get like hit by one of the land moles or miss, then you just miss an entire cycle and do like maybe 1 fighter sword slash of damage to one of them or something.
Very clean.
Let's see how it goes for
runners on the left though.
Oh, Shaerila kind of, if you look over to our top right, Shaerila missing some of those, that arrow pot that generally is gotten, so she may end up coming up short on some arrows later in the game. Yeah, this is a couple of the easier pots you're going to need, so it might spell a much rougher land mole fights. I don't know if I would want to go into that fight without a good, solid, full stacked quiver.
Yeah, they're also missing another one that's in that room right before the big chest. There's like 10 arrows in there you can get. There's also another one on the way out, down through this hallway. But yeah, going into land moles with only 4 arrows, there is another 5 pot right before you get to land moles as well, but I can't imagine trying to do that fight quickly without that.
So we see some of our lead runners. I feel like it's been explained 1,000 times, but we'll go for some of the newer kids, so jot this down. What they just did, you notice that they just jumped into Lake Hylia, no flippers. Good thing we have another tasty glitch for this. It's called fake flippers. If you jump into the water with and move 1 frame. For the first frame that you're in the water, it has no idea if you're swimming, not swimming, what's going on. Doesn't know where to place you. So if you move through the transition when you're on that frame, it just has, it's like, all right, I guess you're swimming now. You can just do this. So, but at the cost of if you get hit, it will soft lock you. So it's a bit dangerous with those Zoras kicking around in there, but it saves about 6 seconds on average, I believe, from walking all the way up the Death Mountain.
Oh gosh, DT, be careful. Yeah, you do not want to get hit, and if you go to the far to the right with that, whatever that balloon enemy that pops, like, those might not be, like, you'd think that they would not hit you because they're in some sort of different layer or whatnot, but they can, and they will, and that will soft block you. But yeah, those whirlpools can also be really tricky to hit. They have a lot tighter of a hitbox than you'd think they should. As a whirlpool, you'd think it would pull you in, but no. And we do see from Gref and Kyong's side soon enough that spin speed coming into play. Oh, Kyong opting to skip it. If you miss it a couple times, it's sometimes faster just to say, you know what, I gave it a good shot, let's just get out of here. Let's just go up the mountain before I get hit by too many boulders.
Our runners also have an opportunity at a quick warp coming up. If you enter this portal on the right side, it finishes up the warp animation 34 frames faster. It looks like neither of our runners on the left decided to go for that.
Is that true? On the right side?
Yeah, it's from the right side on that portal. It's based on where the camera is panned on the screen, so it's different for every screen in the game, really.
Oh, okay. Because I know about the swamp one. If you enter from the left side, same thing.
This is also the reason we do the bonk for Quake.
There's a whole lot of quick warps and a whole lot of rules you have to follow and know for each one. So if you see you got someone do the quick warps, you know that they have at least a pretty basic understanding of how the game works for sure.
We're seeing with Shaerila the lack of arrows kind of coming into play. We're employing a lot of spin slashes, and while this is a little bit slower, it does give you a relatively safe pattern to work with. It doesn't even have to deal with the omnidirectional or 8-directional boulders in the first cycle afterwards. So it looks like we're going to clean this up pretty cleanly. Got one heart left though.
Gotta be careful.
Gotta be safe with that. The spin slash doesn't do any more damage than a regular slash on Muller with the fighter sword, but it does get you far away from those rocks, and at one heart, it's probably the safe thing to do.
Better safe than dead.
That is true. Now, we kind of neglected the coming up that Death Mountain. The sky cabbages there are completely random, so you can get up there with nothing to do, or you can get absolutely crushed and walk into Hera with 1 or 2 hearts, and it's just not a fun time. Hera is a real tough segment.
Yeah, and there's a lot of enemies in Hera that do a full heart of damage, and that including the bomb jump that you're going to see our players do to get the Moon Pearl. It adds up. So sometimes you'll see players hit the crystal switch on the way up to grab. There's a double row of hearts right before you get to Mulder. It's almost like they knew this dungeon was going to be hard for the players, so they're like, here's a ton of hearts.
That's a very interesting beetle room there from Kyong. I haven't seen that strat in a long time.
Yeah, you also got to get through the petting zoo right here with these 2 Moldorms. They will sometimes just wiggle their way around everything and run right into you when you're not looking.
Sometimes you go through that one pot hole and they just hunt you down. Like, they are out for blood sometimes.
Like that.
Yeah. What a jerk.
Greffery did pull off the bomb jump very effectively, though. Looks like Kyong's going for the more difficult strategy on that bomb jump. There's 2 different ways you can do it. You can put yourself within a window of about 2 pixels from the actual ledge, and you just have to place the bomb. You don't have to dash against the wall to get the bonk. If you're placing it a little bit further than that, though, you have about a 6-pixel window that you can dash against the wall with, and it's very liberal. You got a lot of time to work with, but you'll bounce over the gap doing that.
Greffery coming down into our everyone's favorite troll snake, Lamball. What Lamball?
Lamball. Not again, please.
No, please.
Oh,
is a troll, is a snake.
And
not like this.
The devil. Oh man, Kyong almost got knocked down the middle hole. That is the last place you want to go in this fight. Into the last phase, just got to hit him one more time, and good pattern.
The dashes that Kyong was doing there is a very popular strategy. You get a little bit more control and you kind of get a heads up. When you're dashing through and the sword is making collision with Moldorm, he doesn't do damage to you. He can still hit you from the side if you don't line it up very well. He'll bounce away. But usually you can get to the back half of him a lot easier that way.
Now, DT did something that I think a lot of people should know. It hit the switch on his way up, so he's had access to all those free hearts. So if you're ever feeling down on your way.
Oh, man. Oh, no. He suffers a fall.
Yeah. So you'll see some players will get knocked against the hole, but they won't fall down. As long as you're holding the opposite direction of where the hole is, so if it's on your right, you hold to the left, you won't get knocked down. But, yeah, Moldorm not being very friendly for DT. Oh, and he gets knocked down again.
Oh, truly a trolldorm here.
I hate you.
I hate me too. It's okay.
All right, here's the rupees we were talking about.
Pulling that tree there allows you to, for the next prize pack that you're going to pull from the next tree, as long as you've killed those 4 enemies and taken no damage, you'll pull red rupees from the next one.
I love that little dash maneuver to get through here to take out the bird without getting hit, and the bush crab.
It's important that they kill enemies with dashes and not with slashes, though, because that will actually increment the prize counter. So you'll see our runners that are doing the ruby pull route, they'll actually do this up until the point, where they have the rubies for Palace of Darkness, and then later on for that fairy and Turtle Rock.
That actually explains why whenever I tried to do it, it didn't work. I didn't think about that. Using the dash strats. At least for the triples. Alright, so DT heading out of Tower of Harry. You saw him accidentally drop down there. He was setting up a spin speed. He got it, but it's pretty quick, and there's not that much room to work with to get down the stairs and go left. So he went a little too far and fell down. Only a little bit of time loss.
Alright, so skipping the mushroom, which leads to the powder for Kyong. So it's looks like it's gonna be a safety-less run for him, which is to be expected with his time.
Yeah, I would assume most 128 runners will opt to not pick stuff up like that just because of the time loss. But at the same time, this is a tourney race, so these players also probably done a little research on their opponent, so they're like, okay, my opponent, their PB is this, I can relax a little bit, alright, I don't have to worry about anything.
Now, something Kyong just did that's very easy to miss is he coming out of that screen towards Hyrule Castle and dashing by that fence is actually, you have to be on a certain pixel to get that done. And then also, like, brushing up against the wall when he's dashing up into the castle is also not a mistake, so he doesn't get hit by those guards. So very, very clean movement from Kyong that's not highly noticeable, but very nice.
Oh, so that's how you do it. Okay. Oh, but Kyong getting hit there, so he's not going to be able to use the sword beams for the next room.
Now, to explain the prize pack here, this is the room right here with the double blue guards that you want to dash into them, because they are in the same prize pack as the T-Rock fairies. The other ones that are in the Lost Book don't affect that prize pack, because they're not in the same prize pack as the mini Helmas and also the Pokies, as you like to affectionately call them.
Shout out to Greenham and chat for helping us clarify that.
Yeah. A lot of very helpful people in this community that are more than willing, and there's so many tutorials and resources out there just to make sure that you get all that juicy info. It was really nice seeing both from Kyong and Gref the two different tactics for that first room. The little spin by the door to take out the ball and chain guards as well.
Yeah,
it's nice. There's always backups, it seems.
Shaerila just made a really excellent use of the tile on the floor to drop both of those beetles. I haven't seen that in a while.
A very, very clean couple of rooms for Greffery and Kyong coming up here. They really, like, a lot of the strats that are in Aghanim's tower are very precise, so they're a lot of fun to execute and really a lot of fun to watch too.
Yeah, if you can get through Agha Tower cleanly, it's a great feeling. But first you have to actually have arrows leaving landmollas to make some of these rooms a little bit easier. One of the things that frustrates me the most, and we saw that on Kyong's side, is that he took out both the spear-chucking red guards, but one of their spears was still in play, and he had to wait until that spear hit the wall before the door recognized that he cleared the room.
With that, Kyong looks to be our first step to the Aga 1 fight. Who amongst the three of us is going to explain the Aga random RNG?
Well, there's good balls and there's blue balls.
Oh no.
So I'm gonna start.
That's it. That's the whole fight. It's very simple.
You guys
show, folks.
That's there it is.
I shall jump in. So you walk in, you get to see Aghanim's really creepy chamber that he has here. So you get to go fight him in his back door here. And what Aghanim will do is that his first shot against you is guaranteed a yellow ball. You can reflect that back and do some damage. But then the next 3 shots are a 50-50 chance to be a ball that you can deflect back for damage, or the dreaded blue balls that you'll hear so much about. And then his 5th one will always be a lightning blast. Rinse and repeat.
Yep.
The problem with this is that he takes, I believe, 6 hits to kill. So you can have a lot of blue balls if he does not want to go your way. And this is pure RNG. You can't do anything about it. Do not pass go. Do not collect $20. If he does not want you to go to the Dark World, he will hold you here.
It is the Light World Gatekeeper, the Great Equalizer, the Run Killer. I believe in a race, it might have been yesterday, we had one of our top runners get 11 blue balls in their race. So it does happen.
It was something. It was like 4 runners had like a combine of like 22 blue balls or something. It was just this. We just sat here and watched them fight Aga for hours. It was awful.
It's a sad day. Like we had 2 blue balls for Kyong though. Is that correct?
I only saw 1 lightning, so I'm gonna believe you.
So 3 blue balls is about the average you're gonna see. If you can get away with 2 or 1, you're lucky. And 0 rarely happens. I believe you're more likely to get 6 than you are 0, but let's not get too deep into that.
Yeah, only 3 for Greffery.
And you're also seeing these players opting to try and hit Aga right back into the center. I believe that's just since he warps in between each next set. The center is like the fastest place to knock him into, especially for like the lightning phase, since all he has to do is move up.
Shaerila unfortunately taking a fall on Moldorm.
Yeah, Shay having a little bit of trouble. Already taken one dip down the center hole as well. So this fight it's not fun. It's not easy. I'd like to see some more like dash strats being used.
You like to live dangerously for some reason.
Yeah.
I can see why someone would use the sword out stretch though, because I mean, like you mentioned before, how if you hold the opposite direction of the pit, you know, you can't fall down. Maybe just trying to be a little more conservative with Moldorm. Unfortunately, though, you do have to kind of get close to get that slash.
Oh, I fight Moldorm like a scared little sissy. I hold my sword out the whole time, and I kind of duck and weave and try to poke it out. So I can't fault anyone for doing that.
Will like hold their sword out, but just keep on trying to poke, since poke does the same amount of damage with fighter sword. Spins, you got to be a little careful, just because if you miss or hit the face, like you'll get a huge knockback. And come on, Shay, one more, you can do this. So close. There it is. All right, we good.
Nicely done.
All right, so we are in the Palace of Mirrors, the Palace of Darkness.
Bomb Palace, if you will.
Yeah. Players are going to be just basically collecting keys until they have enough to get the big key. But the real trick coming up is going to be the famous hammer jump, which is a double pixel perfect bomb jump to get the hammer from the big chest, which we'll need to finish the dungeon. And there are a few different ways that players will set it up. Some use select buffering. Some use pause buffering, some use just sword buffering.
So I know Scrivo put out a pretty good, some pretty good indicators on how to do this, and I know Blunt Bunny did a really nice tutorial on how to do this. So if you want to get into NMG, this is a really good run that makes it pretty satisfying to get it down, and it saves quite a bit of time. So
yeah, and there's also different ways you can line it up. Like you can line it up based on your menu placement with the ground or with the walls or bomb shadow. Like there's also different ways that people like to do this setup. So it's really cool when you have a bunch of different options. Then you can argue about which one's the optimal one.
Now the biggest challenge involved with it though is you do have that bridge collapsing, so you have just a fraction of a moment really to set up your bomb and, you know, line yourself up. Some runners do actually opt to throw the bomb over to, you know, for the second one, for the crack in the wall. We'll see Kyong here doing his bomb jump.
Really nice.
Making that look very easy.
Yeah.
Nice bomb jump there.
If you can get the first lineup really nice, like quickly as well, like the rest usually comes pretty easy. The hardest part is just moving 1 pixels up or down. Sometimes you opt to use like diagonals. Let's see how Gref does.
This is the way they use the pause buffer.
There we go. Nice.
The way he does use the pause buffer, at any moment, if you try to move exactly 1 tap yourself, move up 1 or left, you will always move 2 pixels, and moving down and right, trying to move once will always move you 1 pixel. That's why if you move and use the pause menu at the same time, you'll move the minimum amount of time you can move. Minimum amount of space you can move, actually.
I didn't know that about diagonals. I'm gonna incorporate that. I always have trouble doing pause buffers on this jump.
Yeah, I always do pause buffers, and the down right diagonal movement it's pretty great.
If you move, so down or right. So if you move diagonals at all, it's always 1 pixel.
So what you're saying is I need to anti-pump to get into position.
Yes, something to that effect.
We'll go with that.
Oh, and not quite the sexy statue, but looking okay. Slightly attractive statue.
Strong, independent statue. Don't need no link.
Yeah, it's also, you want, going down into the second part for Gref, and as well for Kyong, you want to have the full health just so you can save a menu, because you have to hit a switch, but you don't want to have to, like, swap to a ranged weapon, like the bow or a boomerang.
Yeah. Kyong got some pretty poor movement on those turtles in the bottom there. They wanted nothing to do, they saw him coming in with that hammer, they wanted nothing to do with him, they booked for the back wall. Made it real difficult for him.
They're having a party.
All right, well, let's see these 17 hammer hits. Do you think we'll ever see? Do you think someone's going to bring up the bomb strats in the turning race?
I don't know. I know a lot of people that say that as a kid they said that they did bomb strats because that's how they thought they were supposed to be doing it, and I never even thought of that.
4-bomb meta win.
All right, you saw there, Kyong was trying to go for the hammer poke. But he is not getting a good pattern, so he's just saying enough of that. Getting out of there. Yeah, that fight can go bad real quick. As soon as you get the mask off, he goes into rage mode, similar to Moldorn, and if you're not quick enough, you want to get him in that tail swing animation just because he stands still long enough that you can get 3 pokes in a spin, or 4 pokes if you're crazy. There's also another little trick that I'm just recently learning, is that during the boss explosions, if you grab onto the spikes, it apparently saves frames. The spikes, of course, doing no damage after the boss is dead. You can just walk up and hold on to him. Give him a big ol' hug.
I've heard conflicting reasons for this. The last thing that I heard, somebody claimed that your shield actually isn't rendered, or it's not on screen, basically, and that's why you save a couple of frames of lag.
Oh, that actually makes sense.
I was like, yeah, so we had a pretty good fight for Greffery. Greffery was really showing how small that hammer hitbox was. He was like right in his grill, right on his nose, and just wasn't getting it. So it was still a pretty good fight. Ended up not taking any damage there.
Let's see how DT does.
This is a tough fight where you can get anything.
So during this little fire attack, the nice thing is, like, if you wait until, if you're if you're at 16 hits and Helma starts doing that attack like this, you can get the mask off, it'll despawn the fireballs. So you don't have to worry about that. Yeah. Good timing. Thanks, DT. It's like he's listening.
We actually talked him into showcasing that for us today. He was very affable for this.
Can you just wait until you get the perfect, until he does the fireball thing? Thanks.
DT at 37 minutes and 40 seconds. Very good fights though for Helmsor King.
Yeah, not bad. No deaths. Kyong's got a little carried away, but that clutch factor comes in when you're on death's door. And, if it's better safe than dead, even if it is really slow. So, if things get a little too crazy, you might even see some pause buffering just to, dodge attacks. We'll see if we get there.
Looks like Young knows where to find the actual flute. A lot of our runners in this tournament have been struggling to get this in one dig.
I think I had a PB with 3 digs once. I'm not proud.
I think a fellow commentator, I think shall remain nameless, she had 5 digs at one point?
I don't know who you're talking about.
the world record dig master.
World record dig master. That's a great title.
Alright, well, from Gref's side, you see they set up the little spin speed down in the corner, and the way you can tell, aside from being able to move fast, that your spin speed worked, is that you will not be able to slash your sword again. And then all you have to do is just tap on the stairway, or ladder, or whatever you want to call it, and boom, you're off. And we'll probably see that again from Kyong here. Nope, okay. Some players opt to go spin speed off the stairs right north of the bottle vendor. There we go.
That guy?
That guy.
That's one of those things that saves you about half a second, and if you mess it up, it loses you time overall, so...
And you look dang foolish.
And Shaerila is finally getting to our RNG laden wizard. See how many blue balls she gets attacked with here. Kyong hitting that quick warp.
I was gonna say bird, like weather vane, bird thing. I don't know. What is it? Whatever.
Really big compass. I don't know. It's
yeah, there you go.
the only useful compass in the game.
All right, Thieves Town or Gargoyle's Domain, if you want to get particularly technical, is it's a pretty straightforward dungeon that deals a lot of damage, and there's going to be some tight movement. There's a location that you'll see soon enough. It's a long conveyor belt room called the Hellway. See if our runners get that glorious God Pixel.
Oh yeah, these little horsehead guys look like they're fun and friendly, but they hit for they'll chunk you for a lot. Once you hit the Dark World, the difficulty does ramp up and everything is really out to kill you. So you got good movement is really good. Well, obviously, is key here for surviving some of these dungeons.
And if I recall correctly, by the game's own design, this is intended to be the 4th dungeon, while Swamp Palace is supposed to be Dungeon 2, which explains the hike up in difficulty. Am I correct in saying that? Is that a good
That is correct. This is scripted as the 4th dungeon in the sequence, but the game seems to have given you the ability to kind of go where you want, which is a nice little feature from this game that kind of got away from the linearity of the last 2 Zelda games.
Shaerila just got trolled with, I think, 8 blue balls. Oh my goodness.
Gross. That's a reset right there. If this wasn't a race.
All right, everyone stop. We'll just reset the whole thing. It'll be fine.
We're starting over. Starting fresh.
I feel like if you get 15, that's kind of called for.
You got to break the Scrivo record.
If I got more than like 7, I would actually want to see 15 at that point.
Come on, keep them coming. We're not done here.
You get back here. You show me what blue balls.
It's like trying to get the Dampe world record in Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
I've seen so many runs die there, and it's almost like part of the run is the run dying there. It's so natural.
That's the story for a lot of these runners who play this game. You're going to see a lot of people who, when they get to the very upper ends of that leaderboard, it's pretty much down to Aghanim and, you know, how you do with a couple of fights.
Oh, very good movement on Kyong's dashing through those gated cells there. That looks a lot easier than it is.
Yeah, having that amount of control, it's so easy to bonk in the game to a certain degree, especially if you're like starting out or bad at the game, I guess. I don't know. If you're, especially for players that are like on emulator or something, because you know, not everyone has access to be able to play on the original Japanese cart. And when you finally make that switch over to console, like the difference in input delay is crazy, and the amount of times you realize you don't bonk that much. But anyway, blind fight, scripted fight.
Hardest fight in the game, absolute bullet hell.
Now you do have to be careful here because getting hit by one of the floating heads or blind herself does 2 hearts of damage. The fireballs all do only 1 heart, but you should basically never get hit in this fight. As Kyong gets hit. Come on, Kyong.
You're better than that.
What are you doing?
But it only takes 1 hit for that fight to get off script. It's very easy to fall behind on it. But if you do it right every single time, it's going to be, you know, 9 hits very fast.
And this is the perfect fight to do because the Titan's bit does allow you to get the tempered, and which allows it to be easier for the rest of your dungeons. But the tempered sword here actually doesn't do any more damage to blind, so it kind of works out that this is the order that you do these dungeons and get these items.
We're going to see this come to a lopsided use for us when we end up in Swamp Palace later on. When we have the tempered sword, Argus becomes kind of a breeze.
I'd say so, yeah. Especially killing all the individual Argyes, or whatever they're called. It's 2 slashes
Argyes.
or Argyes. It's with the Master Sword, it's 2 slashes or a spin, while Temper Sword is just a single slash. So you think that's not that much, but how many little dudes does he have? It's a lot. It adds up.
Too many. Too many.
Too many. He needs like 2, that's it. Like, we get it. You have
We
friends.
get it, you like eyes.
Yeah, you guys are noticing the acquisition of rupees in Village of Outcasts. There are 2 300 rupee chests, one in the bomb hut south of Thieves Town, and then one in the C-shaped house. And we're going to be needing those to get the flippers from our good friend Zora, which, of course, you're thinking, well, they fake flippered in the beginning. Why can't they just do it again? Well, you know what? You're right. They could.
That's exactly the voice that's in my head when I think like that. So thank you, I appreciate that.
You could do it if you want to go to Ice Palace, but you need to have the you can't fake flipper conveniently or at all inside Swamp Palace. So they're pretty required. Kind of a big deal, just saying.
We will get to see if Shaerila will attempt the bomb jump here in House of Darkness.
It's like it's going to be a no, which is fair. It's one of the harder bomb jumps to pick up, especially when you're still learning this game. There is a small key down here that will be acquired, but we'll just have to make a trip through the dark maze.
Like DT made pretty short work of line, utilizing that script, making it look easy.
Oh boy, and we're off to Skull Woods, another dungeon where you can take a lot of damage depending on how those Gibdos want to treat you. Those mummies, man.
Yeah, it's a place you're liable to get grabbed.
That's true. This first room that you're going to see from Kyong, a lot of players, myself included, I still use the boomerang too, because you can use the boomerang to stun the Gibdos, because they love to aimlessly walk right into your direction, and fortunately Kyong quick enough to pull that statue right before that Gibdo gave him a little hug.
And boy, do they hurt. I think they do both. They think they do 3 hearts of damage. I could be wrong. But either way, it's something that you don't want to get hit by.
You see Gref utilizing the boomerang.
And it only costs you a menu transition, so it's not like it's a time-intense, you know, that unless you're at the very top of the game, I mean, it's not going to be a significant thing for anybody out there who's trying to get into this run. While this run can be difficult in a lot of ways, there are plenty of ways that you can start to dial back some of these things over time. I wouldn't encourage everybody to necessarily go for the most aggressive stuff in their first run.
No, not at all. I mean, there's still players that, you know, you can actually get a pretty good time even if you go as far as to even, you know, like grab the gold sword and silvers as well. You know, do what feels comfortable, and then after a while you can start dropping safeties once you think you're ready.
It's Gref is a perfect example. He does switch to the boomerang, but while he does still have quite a solid, way under 130 time. So
I'm excited to see these Gibdo hallways. There's some people that utilize the the item dash in this room. Some people just take it a little bit slower and kill all the mummies.
that's kind of the safer dash strat.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps you out of the way of those mummies.
That Moldorm in that room has a knack for running into you and getting right in your way. Oh, okay. Like, he switched to his mirror very early. I got concerned. I was like, no, wait. But no, that makes sense.
And now for the Mothula fight. Mothula here is immune to a lot of different types of damage, but Kyong doesn't care about that. Decides to get the double bong strat right away and kills Mothula in a matter of seconds.
He cannot wait for you to explain that fight. He has speed running to do, so if you could just cut off there, please. Thank you.
Kyong, that was a little rude, man.
Let's see how Gref goes.
Amazing split.
It is worth noting that Mothula is a fight.
Yeah, it is not that easy looking. You can get, when you drop down to the hole, if you can dash, hold out your sword and dash him into that block back there, you can get 2 free hits on him. But either way, with the Tempered Sword, it's one of the reasons you get the Tempered Sword, because it takes that from an 8/ fight to a 4/ fight. So nice and clean by both those runners.
Shaerila now going to be heading into the helmet fight. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, very good Mopulas from both of our runners on the left side.
So DT only about half a dungeon away here. So, I mean, any mistakes on Greffery's part, and it could let DT get back into this game.
Yeah, there's, especially with the bosses, like, there's a reason a lot of runs end at Cold Stare, which is going to be our next boss coming up. He hurts. He packs a pretty powerful punch, and if you, like, mess up the beginning of the fight, it can get away from you really quickly.
I managed to see arrow strats out of the Helmasaur King fight for Shaerila. You can do that to hit the green jewel instead of using, say, the hammer or the sword slashes. Another effective way. If he moves left or right, though, it's kind of tough to line it up, so having to get good RNG and clean up the fight very effectively. No damage.
Yeah, it's good.
Now we're in the errand phase of our back half of our Dark World. We're going to get making his way all the way up here to go get Quake. Quake will allow them to get into the Turtle Rock dungeon later in the game, and also kind of wrap this in, mirror out from the Dark World, Light World, and go get himself some flippers. So doing this makes it a much cleaner trip all the way up to Zora's Domain, so doesn't have to walk all the way up there.
So where does that bonk come into play? Like you said, it's similar to like a quick warp.
So Kyong there, after he threw the pod, you'll see Greffery here do it. May or may not end up moving to pick up the actual medallion. But if you throw this pod in and then bonk against the wall to the right, you'll actually pan the camera after the bonk perfectly where it needs to be to get a quick warp every single time. It's based on the exact X pixel that you have with the camera on the screen.
You just walk straight up into it.
Gotcha. It's more about the quick warp. Got it. Those are some of those things that I'm still picking up on.
So the cool part about every time you enter a screen that has that goes all blurry for you, with going into the master order right there, if you enter on the left side, when you come out, no matter where you come out, you'll be on that side as well. So you want to enter all the way on the left, and when you're exiting, be all the way on the right. Very clean movement from Kyong there.
I missed most of the fight, but it looked like DT had no problems with Mopula. That's another fight where you need to take him out quickly, because once all the spikes start going, like all of a sudden you're dealing with like 5 spikes on screen, 4 spikes on screen, as opposed to like Kyong finished him before even the first spike moved. So
now that we have our flippers and Quake, though, it's time to go pay Ice Palace a visit. This could be one of the most frustrating dungeons in the game if you're playing us casually. Thankfully, we don't really care about seeing the whole dungeon.
It's a pretty dumb dungeon. I mean, the only thing we're missing is, what, blue mail? Whatever. I mean...
Just don't get hit.
Just don't get hit, yeah. Real easy. I mean, shouts to Banana Hat, but we won't be seeing it today.
There will be no style across our world, just the drab green.
Now we might see, especially with newer runners, they might pick up the red mail in Ganon's Tower. It's a lot quicker to grab that than it is to grab the blue mail. And it makes a heck of a difference in damage values, or defense values or whatnot, but yeah, the way that we route Ice Palace makes so you don't have to get the big key. You don't have to do much of anything. It does, however, require a pretty nifty bomb jump.
If you're going to end up running this game, this bomb jump is probably one of the ones you're going to need to run. It cuts so much time out of this run and this dungeon.
This bomb jump is a lot like the hammer jump for the Palace of Darkness. It's 2 pixel-perfect placements, both the bomb and Link. A lot of people will use the shadow above Link's head as a reference point, and you do have to be as close to that left ledge as possible. There's like 3 different setups that you can get depending on exact pixels, but it has to be one of them. Unfortunately, without bombs, Kyong here is in a rough position.
Luckily that the jellies are in a bomb prize pack, so if you farm a couple of them, you will get one, but now he's looking at a very low heart count.
Yeah,
and he was about a pixel or 2 off on each of these jumps. So
if he fails this, he dies, is the thing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, because you take a heart of damage from the bomb, and you take another heart of damage from falling, so... Oof. It's a tough one, but just that alone compared to full clearing this dungeon is huge, so... Kyong's gonna have to play very safe throughout the rest of this dungeon, though, because they're... Could be hoping to find a few more of these nice little heart drops along the way. Because that's about it.
Here on Greffery's screen, we'll be able to see exactly why this bomb jump pays off so much. Normally, you have to go all the way back through the dungeon to get back to this spot to push this block down, which you need to get access to Cold Stare. Because of that bomb jump, we don't have to flip a switch, and we can just do that the first time through.
And you never want to take the scenic route through this dungeon. Never, not once.
No. Especially without hookshot.
Looks like Kyong is going to go back for some fairies. You can ignore the door there that was locked that you just walked through. That's nothing to see there.
Ooh. Oh, Gref. Gotta be careful. Oh. Basically in one-hit KO mode right now. But clutches it out right there. Yeah, it's tough. If you want to go... Usually the safest strategy is just to get the spin and then do, what, 6 slashes? However many slashes up in the top right corner.
Yeah.
You'll see some players go for the poke and then spin. So it's like spin, poke, spin, or something like that. Yeah, that's if you can keep them up in the top right corner, you'll have a much better chance of survival and getting through it quicker. Yeah, other thing worth noting about this boss is you can't miss a single fire rod shot. If you miss even one, you have to mirror out and do the whole dungeon over again.
I did find out, thanks to Tear, actually, there is another way that you can do it without having to use all of the magic. If you line up sword beams close to when the fire rod hits, you can actually count them as basically 2 fire rod shots, or it basically hits twice as it's shot twice. So you can do it with half as much magic.
It's a nice tactic, especially if you're still, if you still have powder in your run, because you can usually go up, powder the NF area, and then run down and do sword beams, fire rod. And then if you get the timing right, you can actually hit Cold Stare with a single shot of the fire rod will hit all 3 of them. The fire rod splash damage is kind of wonky at times, so you might get it, you might not. But let's see DT's bomb jump getting a little close to the edge.
That looks pretty good.
Looks like he's got it, yeah. Well, he was wanting to go for that clean little hammer dash. You'll see players do that. They'll bonk across, then hammer dash straight down.
Really, utilizing her fairy, the safeties definitely help out if you're gonna think you're gonna have a tough time there.
She picked that up literally 15 seconds ago. That was great timing.
In a time of dire need, the fairy comes to the aid.
And that's a great reason why, for those of you out here considering picking up this game early on, those safeties are worth it. You know, it's much better to get through a deathless run before you ever even think about that stuff.
Alright, so you're probably thinking, where's Kyong going? Why is Gref going into the next dungeon while Kyong is going on a mission? There's 2 more items we need to get before we can just knock out the rest of the dungeons. We need to get the Ether Medallion, which is sitting up in the Ether Tablet just west of Tower of Hera, as well as the Ice Rod. The Ether Medallion is going to be used to get into Misery Mire, and the Ice Rod is going to be used to defeat the boss of Turtle Rock, the last dungeon before G-Tower. Some players will opt to go ahead and do them after Ice Palace, but before Swamp. Some players will do it after Swamp, but before Mire. The only reason some players do it at different times is ideally you want to have full health going into Misery Mire for that first enemy room, the Wizrobe room right at the beginning.
Oh no, DT.
Oh, did the Cold Stare... Oh no, did he get away from him?
It was Ice that fell down.
Now, DT's gonna operate, looks like he might be doing a strat that is a really good idea if you take a death to Cold Stare. You can farm these small blobs here for magic. They are in a magic prize pack, so they might be able to get something for that.
Oh no. Dude, that's the worst time to die, is right after you kill him.
Yes.
Oh, that's horrible.
Now, what he's going to do with the backup of the backup here is that you can just go. The best way to get a magic refill is just to kill a boss. So he's going to go and do swamp, clear swamp, get the full magic refill, come back and try again. It is a huge time loss, but I mean, he's utilizing what he has and to finish this game up.
He does have to go there anyway, and he also has a tempered sword, so he does, doesn't have to worry too much about being in a risky position in swamp. It's a relatively easy dungeon to clear.
Yeah, swamp is pretty straightforward. The enemies in here, since this is supposedly dungeon number 2, Dark World dungeon number 2, like a lot of the enemies don't really do too much damage, except for the boss who can do 2 to 3 hearts of damage, I believe. Unfortunately, Shaerila also took a death right at that bomb floor spot in Thieves Town, so we're gonna have to walk all the way back. Those little grasshoppers or little green lizards or whatever you want to call them.
I don't know what those things are, but they're evil.
I've never seen a grasshopper crawl like that, so I'm gonna call. I think it's a lizard. It's a newt. It's like a little newt.
An hour into our run, 3 of our runners are here in Swamp Palace. One by backup strategy, but we are all getting pretty close to getting to the boss Argus. It's interesting to see whether or not any of our runners will attempt the 0 cycle. I have to imagine that Kyong and Greffery will try it.
Yeah, that 0 cycle on Argus is really crispy if you can get it off. You can get it working.
One of the things I always hated about Swamp when you're running through these things, it's never dangerous. You never feel like you're gonna die, but everything just nickels and dimes you. Like things just don't get out of the way. There's things coming out of the walls, things slithering out of the water. You just can't get away from these things.
Yeah, and there's nothing worse. One of the worst things is like you're trying to set up a dash to get out of the room, and then something to like just hits you right at the last second while you're just like a couple frames away from getting your dash going. You're like, come on, man. Then you try and dash again, and they do it again. Yeah, that's very true.
And nobody likes losing movement speed to water tiles.
Yeah, there's really nothing fancy about this dungeon until the boss. That's about it.
It's probably the reason why they put this thing off. Not a fun time. Just
so boring. Left side is so boring, man. Can we just skip it?
Probably the worst mistake a runner can make in this dungeon is not hitting the crystal switch. Where you'll see in Kyong's screen, there's those orange switches there. Those can be still up if you forget to hit the switch back in the room where you drain the water.
Yeah, it's usually pretty noticeable if you skip it, because then you'll see that the blue switches are down as you're walking past them. You're like, doesn't look right. And then unfortunately, like in that room, you can just go right back up and make the little loop around again.
Yeah, now no attempt here on the quick kill for Argus. It was a decent 1 cycle, so about as fast as you can without the quick kill. But you also got to remember that Kyong and Greffery are very, very close, because Kyong went to do his errands before this dungeon, so we'll have a better, more accurate representation of if they're together or not when they finally both walk into mire.
Yeah, and it's still also worth pointing out that those two on the left are not actually technically racing each other, but it's the top 2 are racing each other and the bottom 2 are racing each other. But it's still fun to compare. The fun part about these quad races.
I mean, it does still behoove our runners to get as fast a time as possible, no matter how well they do in these individual races. One thing that our audience may like to know about this tournament is that the seeding for the single elimination bracket will be based on your best race times for the group stage, with 3 races available to our runners, and RTA runs normally not being as good as, say, what you can do at the reset. It's pivotal that they put on their best for every single race.
GT's about to have a rude awakening when he comes and drops down on this side. I believe he missed the pegs, if I was watching accurately.
They were up. The blue ones were up.
This might be the last time I bring this possibility up.
Yeah,
no. Okay, all right. Whew.
Maybe he forgot initially he had to walk back around or something. Or maybe chat's just trying to screw with us. Guys, come on. No, I don't know.
Someone get Green him out of here.
Yeah,
that's worth.
Nothing but trouble in that chat.
Okay, so he did miss it initially, and that's unfortunate. It's even worse. Well, I mean, that's the thing is, like, it's so hard. If you make a mistake, the worst thing you can do is let that mistake force you to make more mistakes in the future. Like, the term on tilt. It's really easy to do, especially in, like, a game like this where you're looking at all your splits and you're like, there's so much red, and then that just makes you even more in the red.
And it's good to have a short-term memory like that. I mean, if Moldorm gives you a really rough fight one run, you know, you can't approach Moldorm differently in this next run just because of that. You know, you might just send yourself further on tilt, exactly what you're describing.
Gref now going to be going through, getting Ice Rod and Ether, just barely dodging that crab. Getting a nice hard drop from the other crab to keep him at full health. I love those little bombs, the little grass bombs that pop up, or bush bombs, or bush guards, trying to take away your full health.
Love them. Is that something you really enjoy?
Nope. But as a viewer, it's fun. Just kidding. No, I want everyone to succeed. DT's gonna have to grab these hearts along here as well, because he's sitting at a heart and a half, which is one-hit KO for this Argus fight. Yeah, even 3.5 hearts is a little risky, especially if you're trying to go aggressive. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I didn't realize this. So Kyong does Ether, Swamp, Ice Rod, Mire, in that order. As opposed to doing, like, Ether and Ice Rod at the same time, then Swamp, stuff like that.
And for those of you at home, at the end of the day, I mean, there's not a whole lot too different time-wise. You know, what time you get the Ice Rod, what time you get, you know, Quake and Ether, as long as you get them before they're needed. We're talking about the difference of maybe 1 or 2 flute transitions.
So now Greffery coming into Mire 2 with the reason you want full hearts here. Just barely missing the 1 cycle, but if a 1 cycle doesn't get you excited about this game, I don't know what will. You must not have a pulse.
I mean, 0 cycles are pretty good too. Got him!
Oh, I hate you. I hate you so much.
Mire is another one of those dungeons that you can lose a lot of health really quickly, especially because one of the chests that they're going to have to get is in that spike room we just saw Gref leaving. You have to take a lot of intentional damage in there just to hit the switch and to be quick about it. Of course, it also comes down to the boss Vitreous, which we're going to be seeing some damage boost strats to take him out. So you want to try and keep as much health going into the boss here as possible, so that you can safely do the damage boost without having to worry about, you know, dying.
Vitreous is a very punishing boss too, because we're relying on those invincibility frames from touching the slime that we'll see in the boss fight. If you were to mess that up and accidentally walk into one of the eyeballs, you're taking double and triple damage, you know, that you were expecting to take. It's a very tight window. If you do it perfectly, you can do this in that boss fight in 4 hearts of damage. Most people are a fair amount more than that, but we'll see what our runners are able to do when they get past the basement section.
Yeah, it's also another fight that you want to go into with a good chunk of arrows, because you know, sometimes it's quicker if you can't take out all the eyeballs from spins to finish them off with arrows, and then of course you need the 8 arrows to finish off the big one. Our runners on the left side, as well as DT, all 3 of them have plenty of arrows when they eventually make their way into the Vitreous fight. DT now going to be going back and getting his revenge on Gold Stare and that one jerk icicle that fell on top of him.
It is worth noting is that Shaerila is kind of showcasing some of the utilizing all the safeties that she's picked up. She's got her half magic, got the bottles going on, so really allowing her. She took a couple deaths, but some of that was mitigated by having a fairies, so she can keep her run and try to not having to start dungeons over and over again. It's a time save.
There are a lot of strategies that are a lot more consistent that, you know, when you have half magic, for example, going into the Cold Stare fight, Shaerila will have the opportunity to use Fire Rod for the second phase, which none of our other runners were able to.
Yeah, and that was a really, really clean spike room from Greffery, utilizing that hook shot to get around a little bit quicker and Only taking, I think, three hearts, maybe 4 hearts, and grabbing a heart along the way. So plenty of health to go into this fight. Let's see how Kyong handles it. I mean, when you have this many hearts, when you're up to 12 hearts, you can give a few away.
So taking only 3 hearts of damage on there is optimal, so both of our runners did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I never even considered, because usually I would just walk to the left, but then you have to like walk past the BMOs, walk past more Stalfos. But the dash up from like the spikes, while you still have your iframes, is pretty good. It's pretty good. I like it.
You got 4-frame window to avoid the collision detection for another heart of damage. Might as well, right?
Yeah. Alright, let's see this Vitreous fight from Gref. Oh my gosh. That was
Very
gorgeous.
clean zero cycle.
Textbook.
Only had to use 1 extra arrow. Yeah, that's the nice thing is the sludge on the ground only does 1 heart of damage. So, and those iframes, those 4 frames, the collisions, the thing you were just talking about, utilizing that to get more free hits in. Because you don't want to get touched by those eyeballs at all. They do a lot of
track
damage.
you all across the screen too, so I mean you're gonna be fighting against them trying to position. You know, if you do it this way, you know, with these spin slashes, that is a very fast way to get through this without having to worry too much about whether or not you have to dodge things.
Also getting the 0 cycle, because that big eyeball does have a lightning attack similar to the Aghanim fight. Let's see if Kyong can also get the 0. Looking like it, nice. Very good work from both of them. Yeah, because that lightning attack, if you miss it, the lightning will... I think it does... Does it do 3 hearts of damage as well? And
Yes.
It'll also steal your arrows. So if, like, you shoot an arrow to try and hit him, but the lightning will actually grab the arrow and take it with it onto the other side of the wall. It's really hilarious to watch.
It looks like In the Name of DT did manage to actually pull off that fire rod glitch we were talking about earlier. Managed to finish off the rest of Cold Stare using the remaining magic that he had.
I was like, Shaerila using the fire rod to make quick work of that gib, though. Other runners have used kind of the spikes to do extra damage there. The fire rod is an excellent backup strat if you're not comfortable with that. And you have the extra magic from your half magic. So we're heading up to Turtle Rock, now we're going to see why we picked up Quake to start up this dungeon. And this dungeon can be a very, very perilous dungeon. It assumes you have blue mail and all sorts of safeties with you, when in reality you're going green mail, basically nothing on you. So this is going to want to try to take as few hearts of damage as possible here.
Now the real question is, do you think that Greffery did a medallion mash here?
Ooh, taking bets.
It's not too often used, but you know. Ah, no.
Oh, it's just slow in the slog, and that's great. But that is a hard thing to do. You can go whizzing off the side there. You don't know what's going on.
No, and unfortunately, Shaerila using up that fairy and taking another death on Mothula, gonna have to go all the way back through, but without magic. The nice thing is if you just mirror right here, or run down and mirror, there's the tree. There's a tree that you can bonk for a full magic refill. That's right next to the portal that you get in the Dark World when you first go to Village of Outcast. That's the quickest way, I'd assume, to get a magic refill. There are also little tiny magic pots along the way in the second phase, or second part of Skull Woods. But, you know, more is always better.
You do also have a pretty decent chance of getting a full magic refill by killing some of the Gibdos in that one hallway.
Yeah, that's also true. That's always a nice one when you get that.
The vulnerable wall in the big cube room also has a full magic if you're feeling desperate. Gref is going to look to cash in on this fight all the way back in Aghanim's tower. The 2 blue guards getting that fairy off of them.
Very important for this chomp room.
You do not want to face check that chomp. They do 4 hearts. They are dangerous.
Yeah, unfortunately getting that fairy, but then immediately getting a chomp to the face. Gotta be careful. Okay. Because, you know, optimally having sword beams in there makes it a little bit quicker to get through instead of using the Cane of Samaria, but...
So both Kyong and Greffery did a pretty optimal roller room there where you actually use some damage iframes to get through them, and that's why it's really important to try to get that fairy in these high level runs.
Yeah, if you don't route in the fairy, you could always just mirror out and then walk back up, or ride the, you know, walk back up here. Assuming it's a little bit longer, but...
Kyong got some good RNG on there to make it possible to get in, get that, use the iframes from the switch to get out of there alive. No chomps to the face today.
Seems like Shaerila's been having a little bit of trouble with floor masters in Skull Woods, unfortunately.
So over our bottom right, DT executing a pretty clean mire so far. No damage taken, and keeping the movement pretty clean.
Yeah, I missed what happened in that wizard room, but it didn't seem like he utilized the sword beams as well as his opponent to get the quick clear, but at least getting through there without taking damage is also good. Also, don't walk into bomb slugs. They do a lot of damage too.
I mean, I wouldn't advise it, but I mean, you do what you want to do.
They do a weird amount of damage. Like, why do they do 4 hearts? That makes no sense.
They are the bomb.
Greffery's using a pretty sweet bomb. But I don't know, so like the bomb slugs are like the crabs of the Dark World. They do like way more damage. And Kyong getting a really sweet spin slash on double kill on those pokies. That was really cool.
That was nice. I like that. That was good. A lot of times, if the pokies get out of the way, you just hit them with the fire rod. Of course, going for the double spins is always faster. The one thing you got to watch out for, though, is that sometimes if you go for a spin, sometimes the pokey butt will just bounce off a wall and nail you for 4 hearts. So you got pokies that do 4 hearts, chain chomps that do 4 hearts, lasers that do 4 hearts.
Speaking of lasers, we have a skip coming up here on Greffery's screen.
Oh, there's 4 hearts. He's down to 1 heart.
Barely. The collision on those lasers is so weird because only the front of the laser has any collision at all. So you can hang out in the back of that. I wouldn't do it for long, but you can do it for a while if you need to.
It's going to be a little scary for him. He's going to be going into this fight with only 2 hearts. There is 1 more extra heart along the way here before Trinex, but that's 1 hit KO right there.
The heart doesn't mean anything in this context.
No.
The confidence.
I mean, the amount of times you've played this game, you should be able to go through most bosses without taking damage. Opting to use the safer, non-backdoor strat. Oh, God. Jeez.
Holds my breath here. This is...
But will he go for the double spin?
That is nerves of steel right there. That is... spitting in Trinex's face.
Oh my God. Jeez. Alright. That was crazy.
Never
I think that was the clutchest fight we've had in this race so far. That was really good.
Oof.
Even getting the double spin, pause, switch to hook shot.
Asserting his
the
dominance
slash. He didn't go for the slash like Kyong did, but it's a really nice fight.
A very nice fight of Kyong's fight. Textbook for him. Meanwhile, DT is gearing up for his first attempt on Vitreous.
Oh, Shay's got to be... Oh, God, be careful. Unfortunately, also using up that fairy again, so gonna have to go find magic. If some of these bosses, like, get away from you, I highly recommend using pause buffering. Especially in fights that have a lot of stray bullets and projectiles, like the Mopula fight. Just getting a chance to pause and think about which way you need to move, just to, like, could even be just a couple pixels. Could be the difference between life and death. But here we go. Ganon's Tower. Ganon's Tower is a fun one. It's just all, I don't know, like aside from like the gauntlet, it's pretty straightforward. There's no real like huge tricks or anything.
It's a lot of small optimizations in a lot of room, so it's just pure execution from here on out.
Taking a look at the gap between these two runners on the left-hand side of the screen, they're about 25 seconds apart. Their PBs are 17 seconds apart. Very interesting to see what's going to happen between these two.
Oh man, there's a lot that can happen in Ganon's Tower, as well as Aga too, and even Ganon himself. To swap the lead between these two, even like just Gauntlet RNG can kind of get away from you. And did both of them grab the torch key for this one? Because I know some people grab different keys.
I was looking at Shaerila's screen, sorry.
Yeah, it looks like they both did. Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple different keys you can get in Ganon's Tower, some faster than others. The torch key being the slowest, but not by much, and it's much, much safer and much more consistent.
Oh man, I'm not getting the little quick boomerang hook strat here. I'm gonna have to try that again. And both runners, Kyong having plenty of arrows going into the Armos refight on ice. Fortunately, there are several little arrow pots, and there's even a chest with 10 arrows on the way to Ice Armos if you want to stock up. You need at least 18.
18 to get through the fight, and then you get gifted with a nice 10 for your mimics later.
Yeah.
And that's important because you can't kill those mimics with anything but arrows, so if our runners actually end up short, that's going to be a big time loss for them. They're going to be keeping that in mind all the way through.
This is looking like a very clean Ice Armos fight from Gref.
One fun detail about Ice Armos, or Armos 2, that a lot of folks aren't familiar with is that the Armos don't start circling around the room until they've all reached their position in the circle. So if you keep hitting them with arrows, you can actually prevent them from starting that cycle. For at least well, you can do it indefinitely, but it's kind of hard to do that on ice.
You can do it indefinitely, or at least much longer if you use the boomerang.
the strats.
The strats, man. But no, yeah. The other thing is you want them to start circling, because that's how you don't want there's a timing to it as well. You don't want them to start circling too fast before you get set up. But nice mimics 1 and 2 for Gref coming up. Or gonna see it on Kyong's side. Plenty of arrows going up here. Now I utilize arrows throughout Gauntlet. And then switch to, Fire Rod for that one Stalfos right before you go fight Land Molas too. What do you guys like to use? You guys usually use the arrows throughout, or just go for slashes?
I'm more of an arrows guy for some of them. I know it's probably not the best way to do it. And then kind of Fire Rod towards the middle once you get to the Stalfos on ice, the second coming there.
Mostly slashes, although I'll use arrows in the icier rooms. I call them wonder shots.
Wonder shot.
Just a Hail Mary, the Kobe. Just shoot an arrow and really hope something just walks into it.
Oh, nice dash there. The dash between the Beamos and the Spike is always really nice if you can get the lineup, and if, fortunately, all the enemies walk right in your line of sight.
The suicide notes.
I want to call attention to Shaerila clearing out Skull Woods. That was a very frustrating boss to get through, so congratulations on that. Hopefully get through the next dungeon a lot smoother.
Yeah, sometimes you can just, if you get killed by a boss, you can just get stuck there, and it's tough to get out of that mental headspace. Good thing kind of clearing that and getting moving. Pretty clean Land Molas 2 fight. A little less annoying than the first time you face off with them.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of these players going for, they stand in a particular spot to bait out the Medusa head or the fireball that gets shot so that it doesn't hit you while you're trying to hit the first Land Mola. It's nothing worse than missing all of your shots on the first cycle.
I would never do that.
Miss all your shots?
Not even once.
Not even once. Oh, good.
Oh, the one block kill on all those Wizrovs always feels it's the most satisfying thing.
It's pretty good. I mean, that's the thing. That's G Tower is so great because if you can get all these really clean rooms like optimized, which most of them are, but on a personal level, if you can, it's like it's a satisfying feeling going through and being like, wow, that was really clean. I'm really happy with that.
Really
Going through learning this game.
And then you get to Aga 2 and just completely blow it because you're like, do I do spins or do I do slashes? Oh, I missed all of them. Oh, I got blue balled again. Alright, Gref gonna be coming into the Moldorn Reef fight, which generally a lot easier because you are 2 sword levels higher, so it's just a slash and a spin. The platform's a little bit narrower and a little bit easier to get knocked off, but it's still a lot better than all the fighter sword slashes on Moldorn 1.
And Gref's looking at 2 more barriers before he gets the Triforce. Aga 2, and so it's Aga and his 2 buddies, and the Big Pig himself. So.
Yeah, this could be a lead change in the left side race, which isn't a real race. Well, it's kind of a real race because they're all in the same like race thing, SRL speed racing TV thing. But oh man, look at that pattern. I think he missed one of them though. Oh, this is. He missed another one. Okay, and got the blue ball. He's giving him good patterns, but then he gives you a blue ball instead. And you're like, come on, man.
You had one job.
And that's gonna be Aga down for Gref. Let's see how Kyong's goes. Ooh, that was clean. That was
that
nice.
may have been a triple, but I think they're
may have.
Sometimes these yellow shots kind of eat them when they all hit at the same time.
Freaking blue balls, man. He just needed one more. That's frustrating. So yeah, that did count as a triple then, because I think he got 2 in the first one, then 3, and then so 2, 3, 0, 1.
We got a 126.57 on the touchdown there.
DT having a very nice Trinex fight, going for the safer strat, no backdoor.
Just 13 seconds apart, wow.
Now you could tell if a runner really puts the time into the work in this game when they can get like the double 1 cycle into Ganon and how they handle their 4th phases, because these things don't happen on accident. You got to put some time in to really make the Ganon fight go smoothly.
Yeah, you could also tell because like they've practiced all the different Ganon RNGs that you can get for phase 2. Whether he's down the left side, down the right side, or in the middle.
The number of slashes that our runners have to use to advance the phase for Ganon depends on the level of the sword that we have. Most runners in this game will use the tempered sword instead of picking up the golden sword and silver arrows, although that's entirely a valuable strategy. You would be doing 6 slashes per round instead of the 12 that we have to do here.
Oh, Kyong not missing that torch glitch like a certain other commentator I know by just spamming that thing. So by getting that before that torch goes out the first time, it makes it so that the right torch never goes out, which makes it a lot easier.
But sometimes the game just says no and eats your input for no reason, even if you were mashing the entire time, and then you have to do it without it, or reset the fight if you're bad.
I think that only happens when you're bad, but I think that's just what I've seen in my research.
Listen, I'm still a little upset about that race. I'd rather not get on about it. But that's gonna do it. Very clean Ganon, like textbook, I'd say.
It's very difficult to do the 3 spins on each space, so very, very nicely done on both those runners.
That was
Both runners.
Another personal best for Kyong, I believe.
Just shy of the 120, the 128. They're really high at 128, but GG's to both the runners on the left sides, taking the win in their separate races. Really close, really clean. That was good.
Looks like DT is on his way through the basement of Ganon's tower, and Shaerila at the moment is attempting the Ice Palace bomb jump.
That bomb jump looks good.
Nice. Just gotta get through this room, maybe grab the heart.
Always a relief to get that.
You just never want to get that dungeon done or get that bomb jump done and then get like hit by that fire snake and then you have to do it all over again. It can be a disaster sometimes.
Yeah, that was a really good run from both of them. No real like huge errors. Maybe Kyong's Ice Palace bomb jumps. I believe he failed that 4 times and had to go back and get another bomb. But you know, those things do happen. But overall, really good, really nice casual 129. No big deal. Super easy, guys. Everyone can do it. What are you doing right now? Are you playing Link to the Past right now? Well, you should be. Well, actually, you shouldn't be. You should be watching this. But afterwards, go play it.
You should pick the game up, try to get a 129. It's just to see how good these runners are and how 129 is a difficult thing to do, especially in a race setting where there's no resets, no nothing.
Yeah.
DT coming close in on using his powder to gain some health back right before we have to do the Armos fight. Very well equipped with arrows.
Looks like we're going to see if we can get Greffery in here for a post-race interview.
Oh, just a little slow on the pull for that last Ice Armos, allowing him to regain all of his health and come back as the ferocious, almighty Red Armos, who is no different other than being slightly faster.
And a little angrier.
And a little redder. Shaerila enjoying the use of that half magic and be able to use a lot more fire rods on this Cold Stare fight. Does have to be careful, 1 Cold Stare kiss away from death, but takes him down. Easy peasy.
For those of you at home who are struggling with that boss fight, one thing you may find very effective is when you've destroyed one of the 3 puffs, it actually has quite a lot of lag frames while the explosions are happening. This is true of any boss fight in the game that has explosions. For example, Trinex seems to be made out of C4. Shaerila here, however, can take advantage of that to position better for the Fire Rod, for example, with half magic or for the nice slash, while the game's running a little slower.
For sure, more explosion than boss actually in that room.
DT heading up to the Gauntlet. He's only down a few hearts. He should be perfectly fine, but he does have that safety powder in case he gets bodied by BMOS and whatnot up here. Ooh, that Stalfo's giving him the business, but then walking directly towards him, right into his sword, making it a little bit easier to take him out.
The Stalfo stream right here is my least favorite room in the whole game. These guys just kind of walking aimlessly, don't care that Link's in there trying to slash them, just doing their own thing.
Oh gosh, gotta be careful. A lot of things that do damage in here. And was trying to go for that spin or that dash across, but it's a little bit trickier to line up. Oh gosh. Across the room. Oh, not getting the splash damage.
Well, that's real close.
Oh, DT, no! That is a tough death. That BMOS was out for blood. Sniped him from across the room.
That's unfortunate. That is not a good place to die. Especially that far up the Gauntlet. I'm interested how that splash damage didn't work. Was he just too far to the right or something? Or sometimes it just doesn't do? Because I think that completely altered his ability, his movement in that room. Because if he had taken him out, he would have been able to just dash to the door and get through and would have been able to powder.
I believe we have with us in the voice channel now, Greffery and Kyong. Congratulations, guys. Great job winning your race.
Thanks.
Thank you.
GG's.
So I guess we'll start with Greffery. How did you feel about the run overall? A couple hiccups, but how did you feel how you played tonight?
I may have facepalmed when I fell on Moldorm. I actually slapped my head on that one. I was not happy about that one. But everything after that, I was actually incredibly happy about, even the sub 1 second gold in Mire there. But then I just punted T-Rock and G-Tower, and again, the fight was just a bunch of warps. So overall, I can't complain with what I got.
Yeah, I don't really have much much to say about it. Other than, it was really nice. Other than the Molder thing, it was pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Snagging a gold bid run is always, especially in a tournament setting, that's actually really, really good. So congratulations on a gold for that. For sure.
Yeah, thanks.
And what about you, Kyong? How did you feel about your race for your performance overall?
It had its ups and downs. My light war was kind of blah. I think it was just like a warm up, and the beginning of Dark World was pretty good until spells.
No, that looked like a pretty textbook perfect bomb jump. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, one of those I was pretty sure I should have gotten, but I don't know. I have to review to see what happened there. But I guess at least I didn't die, technically. But yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was really nice getting bailed out by that the blue berry dropping a bomb, and then you basically were one more shot away from having to do that dungeon over again because of the being down to 2 hearts. So it was really clutch, and to be able to clutch it out in a tourney race is always a good feeling. Even after all the dumbs, you're like, all right, at least I got it. Let's just keep going.
Well, I apologize for giving 300 people a heart attack with a 1 heart gold North stare there.
Oh, jeez.
Ridiculous.
I didn't want to chance it. No, I'm going to get those fairies. I don't care.
You just do what you need to do, yeah.
Yeah, I think all of our runners had not very friendly cold stares. I believe DT himself actually took a death there and had to go do Swamp Palace and then come back to finish Ice Palace. Which is always that's a rough death to take because of the lack of magic available.
Mm-hmm.
As for the two of you, though, it was pretty much neck and neck for the leaders of these 2 races, Kyong and Greffery. All the way up until the end, I mean, you guys were 7 seconds apart with your race time. So, I mean, you still have opportunities. You have more races, I believe, than both of you, correct?
Yeah, I got 1 more to go myself.
This was my first.
Yeah, so there's still a chance for one of the 2 of you to overtake the other when it comes to the seeding in this tournament. As of right now, though, it's looking a lot like it does on the actual leaderboards.
Yeah, we're ladder buddies there.
Yeah.
It's a privilege to get a chance to see people who are so close in their PBs to race against each other. Or not against each other, but alongside each other.
Yeah, it's also nice to see, some... people have PBs, but then they finish 6 minutes after their PB in a race setting. So it's nice to see you guys finished relatively close to your times. Relatively.
Less than a minute spread. I mean, that's phenomenal. That speaks to consistency. You guys clearly run this game a lot.
A little bit.
Yeah, DT now going to be heading into the Aga 2 fight. Let's see if he can get that beautiful double triple. Come on. We need at least one of them in this race.
Not a friendly pattern to start off with.
That's not a good pattern. Wow. I'm sorry, DT. That's horrible.
Way to jinx the poor guy.
Listen. These things happen.
Kyong and Greffery, did either of you have the race feed open while you guys were running?
I did.
I didn't know.
One thing you might have missed, Kyong, is that Shaerila got the worst AGA 1 RNG out of everybody here. I believe we had 8 blue balls.
Ooh. That's not healthy.
One of the only decent things I had in my light world was the 2 blue balls.
Oh, nice, dude.
I think you had 3, Gref, I believe?
Yeah, I had 3, and then a 4 or 5 cycle Landmo. I was ready to hit my desk.
Light World is the great equalizer. The great run killer.
Whether you like it or not.
Yep.
It's so little time overall, but you hate messing up the small little things.
It's actually kind of funny because my PB has a really, really bad light world, so I was kind of hoping I would claw in time there. I was like, nah, Hera, no, just want that.
Never.
Never.
DT missing the one cycle on the first phase there. Very close. He was a slash off. Giving a pretty favorable top left, though, for the double spins.
Oof. A little bat to the face for good luck.
Better than a hug. I'll take it every day.
Better than a hug, for sure.
One lesser-known feature of Ganon's boss fight here is that if you do get hit by one of those fire bats, or we're not invoking StarCraft references here, but if you get hit by one, it actually reverses your directional inputs on your controller for a couple of frames afterwards. So you can find yourself falling off the ledge if you try to press the opposite direction.
That's why it's always safe. If you know you're gonna get hit, just get your hands away from the D-pad. Don't even touch it. That's pretty sneaky. A sneaky trick that they put in there. My advice, of course, is to not get hit. I can't stress that enough. I think it's pretty sound advice. Would you guys agree?
Seems like a strategy for success.
Okay, good.
Don't die, don't lose, win.
Not something I've employed often, but yeah, something I try to do.
I'm surprised DT's going for just lamp strats here. I guess, you know, he already knows that the race is over, basically, so he's just being safe here. And very clean fight regardless.
It seems to be probably the way I think I would do it if you know the race is over and you're really just trying to get out of this dungeon alive, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's going to do it for DT, and our race at the bottom, finishing roughly at time 141.32. Aside from that cold stare death, though, wasn't all that
pretty
bad.
solid run.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hard death to come back from.
Yeah, once you start getting under maybe the sub 135 range, any cold stare death will pretty much end your run. That's a huge time loss, probably one of the worst in the game.
With the race at the bottom of the screen wrapped up at this point, though, chat, please, if you can, cheer along Shaerila while Shaerila finishes up Misery Mire and makes it through the rest of this run.
Yeah, we'll see if DT wants to come in and have a little chit-chat about the run.
Moving into the Vitreous fight, it looks like Shaerila is attempting to do the floor strats, but it's proving to be a little bit difficult with the eyes now in motion. Does manage to pull off the left half of it. Let's see if we can get through the right half without getting hit by lightning.
Let's hope for the fairy. There's a fairy here.
Yeah.
There we go.
You'll also notice that when Shaerila was doing the spin while the big eye was shooting a lightning, you actually see it taking damage, because it does actually take damage, even when it hasn't emerged, which would mean that I don't know how much exactly, but
It's an arrow.
Just one arrow,
or possibly two.
might have got the double spin. So down goes Vitreous. Shaerila going to be moving on to the next fight. Now I don't know if they still need to go get Ether Ice Rod. I haven't seen that yet, but yeah, still definitely on pace for a massive PB. Based on the PB posted for this tournament, Shaerila is posted a PB of 3 hours and 15 minutes, and I'd say we're going to PB in it.
Certainly at this rate, I think that they could pull it off.
Alright guys, I'm gonna leave, but thanks for the commentary and everything.
Thanks for the amazing race.
Yeah, GG's.
I'm gonna bounce out here too. You guys have a good night.
Thank you for joining us.
Good luck in the next one.
Thanks.
I'm going to message DT, see if he wants to.
Shay's giving us the tour around the desert. Not sure where we're going, but it's exciting to see.
Since we were talking about Shaerila's PB and what we have listed on speedrun.com, the leaderboard, 3 hours and 15 minutes actually have Shaerila's feed open. It looks like that actually is their PB, so this is fixing to be a very massive PB.
And we're going to be bringing in DT. We're not going to be bringing in. Someone needs to pull him in. I can't do it.
I believe in the name of DT, you have to actually bring yourself over to the commentary channel.
We don't have the power.
I have the gold name, though. That's what I love.
That's all that really matters.
And there he is. Welcome, DT. How you feeling about that one?
I mean, about as good as can be expected, I guess.
Yeah. It's a rough death to take at Cold Stare, especially when you don't get the magic drop, and so you have to reroute, backup strats, go to Swamp instead. Other than that, though, how are you feeling about the run in general?
You know, up until that point, I was really, really confident and happy with myself and my ability, and it was just of all the things, I killed all 3 of the Cold Stare puffs, and then that icicle just fell right on me. I wasn't paying attention to it, and that was it. But I mean, if there's any consolation too, at the very end, I did gold my Ganon split by about 6 seconds, so
there you go.
There's always that.
We take those.
Golds are almost better. These are fantastic.
You know, yeah, because eventually they add up and the stars align and icicles don't fall on your head and you get a pretty good PB eventually.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're gonna take a death at Cold Stare, like, the worst way to do it is after you technically defeat Cold Stare. Like, that hurts. It stings. But you know, you dealt with the situation and you came back strong. And from our perspective, the rest of the run was pretty straightforward. Oh, well, until Gauntlet happened. That was unfortunate too.
Yeah,
that
Gauntlet was.
I forgot about that. That Stalfos, the Fire Rod not taking out the Stalfos kind of threw things off a little bit in that room.
Yeah, I don't think I moved quite far enough left for the, what is it? It's not splash damage, because it just kind of sticks around the lingering hitbox of it.
Yeah,
it just
splash
didn't
damage
quite get
works.
it. Yeah, whatever. I like splash damage better. It's a cool word.
Yeah, that Beamos, the sharpshooter, tracked you down. That was unfortunate. Like, of all the places to die, like, that's awful. Especially because you're one room away from getting free health.
Yeah, it just seemed like a lot of things had my name on a ransom note, or not a ransom note, like a bounty for me or something. It was just not cooperative. It wasn't friendly to me tonight.
Yeah, sometimes RNG is just ain't on your side. It happens. But regardless, finishing still with a respectable 141, and you still have 2 more races left in the group stages.
I was actually just about to ask about that.
How you feeling about going into those races? I know one of your other opponents also is a sub 130, I think, which is, yeah, I'm sure, pretty nerve-wracking.
That may not be much of a race. That'll just be me doing another practice run while someone else is racing with me, kind of. But we'll see how the other one goes.
Yeah.
It's like you'll be getting those goals and you're pushing down your sum at best. So maybe sub 130 is close to your future.
You know what? It's a matter of time before something just really, really goes my way. My sum of best is, about 3.5 minutes below my PB right now. So that's huge.
That usually means that you're primed for a PB soon.
You just gotta get, RNG on your side, 0 blue balls, the works.
Yeah, I do want to call attention to the audience, something you're seeing on Greffery's screen. Those of you who aren't familiar are wondering, how it is that everybody gets so dang good at this game. The Link to the Past practice hack is a fantastic resource if you want to spend more time on working on an individual room. If you want just some presets that are going to show you how to get to certain tricks in the game, like hammer jump, Greffery, for example, bouncing between bosses here. Anybody who's really looking to spend a bunch of time in this game should definitely look into that. We should be able to get a link posted in chat as well.
Yeah, I highly recommend using it. It's really nice if you're like, if you do a run, you're like, how did I mess that up again? You just go, you grind it out, and then you jump back into another run right afterwards.
And shout out to poor little Pinkett for creating that hack, and he's done wonders for how we practice this game. So shout out to him.
Unfortunately, though, now I have this lingering artifact whenever I try hammer jump. I always want to hit select L and B.
To reset it?
Every time.
Oh, it's gotta be great when you're doing a run or something like that. You slam those buttons because like you're just so used to practicing a room. So when you screw it up, you go to reload the save state and you realize, oh no, I'm in the middle of a run. I'm an idiot.
So DT, do you have your next race already scheduled yet, or you gonna get some more practice, some more runs in, get that time down a little bit more before you schedule your next one?
No, the next one's already scheduled, actually. I think Monday at 1 p.m. sounds about right.
Nice. There is still like plenty of time to, because players do have the option of knocking out all their races right away, or they can stretch it out, one a week, to give them time to like practice and prepare and get ready. And but if you want to just go ahead and knock them all out, nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Any sort of thoughts going into the next race? Anything you're gonna work on, practice, get ready for, or are you just gonna go in there, wing it, hope for the best, have fun?
I guess really I'm just gonna go in and go for it. I mean, aside from that really unfortunate thing with Cold Stare, and then Swamp Palace was kind of out of left field in that place because I'm not used to doing it in that order. Everything else,
switch.
Well, yeah, I mean that too. That's something I'm actually pretty notorious for forgetting somehow. But aside from the ice and the swamp splits, I mean the rest of this really wasn't terrible by my standards. So I mean I'll just go in and hope that I don't die again in a really weird spot.
I mean, it is great to see your optimism here because there's a lot of runners who get really down about some things, but if you're able to see the things that went well, take good away from them, and like get back on the horse because there's a lot of failing in this game. So it's good that you're ready to keep it going.
I also want to ask, for your Ganon fight, you opted to use just lamp strats for Phase 4, as opposed to Fire Rod. Any particular reason, or just wanted to play it safe and just finish the run, not worry about getting too hasty or aggressive?
I mean, I'm not too practiced in the Fire Rod torches. I know that you can get 3 hits off of Ganon per cycle at that point. I think it might have been possible at one of those for me to get that 3rd one with the lantern too, but I don't know. He seemed to like that top right corner, and that would have made it really difficult to get a 3rd hit anyway. So I was just kind of going with what was going to keep me alive.
It's a good strategy. Stay alive. Well, GG's DT. It was a fun race to watch and commentate, and I look forward to watching your next race. And good luck to you in the next one as well.
Great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for commentating, and thanks for everything on Speed Game and people putting on this tournament. It's good fun. Thanks.
Good luck, DT. All right, and Shaerila finishing up Swamp right now. So still on track for a pretty solid looking PB coming up here. So hopefully they can keep it going, keep it strong strats, and try to mitigate some deaths. Should be pretty good.
So, Lancian, when you started running this game, what safeties did you start with?
I actually started with the whole kit and caboodle. Like I went with the net, a bottle. I got red mail. Went and got powder. I never did the half magic thing. I actually would have gotten it. I just never actually thought about it. Just completely thought there was a bat under the blacksmith hiding out, lurking.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, like, for routing-wise, if you get powder after you activate Flute, and then you get half magic after getting Tempered Sword, that'd be about the best time to do it. Yeah, I think, like, because I was very late into starting NMG. I've only been doing it for a couple, like off and on for like the past like 6 months. So by the time I've been playing other games of the Link to the Past variety, so I was like good to go going in with just powder. Of course, like my first NMG run was like not even sub 2 with powder. It's like, oh, 8 deaths to blind, you know, that's normal. So I definitely personally probably could have used what Shaerila's going for now, going for the gold sword and silvers.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
I hadn't thought about that. I think that actually, I don't think I ever went for it because I think that I was just confused as to how to like route it in. So I was like, you know, I'm just gonna go for temper and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you had kind of a background in the Zelda games already. Like you know, you do some Z2 and some Z1, so maybe the switch over wasn't too complicated for you.
No, not really. I mean, there's still a lot. Like optimization is like the next thing for me, and not dying to bosses because I can. Like I did a run right before this commentary where I died to Helma. I'm like, how? Like I went for like hammer pokes and missed one, and then I went for the next one while he was moving towards me, and of course hit me again. And you know, I was it's so easy if you get hit once to just be like, I'm gonna go crazy and just, you know, I'm gonna wing it, and then all of a sudden you're dead, and you're like, that wasn't worth it.
I was like, winging it to my death was not really want to be. Well, there's like 2 different reactions. You can go kind of ham hog wild on him and try to like slash him down, or find yourself in the corner and just dodging fireballs. But that fight is an RNG nightmare. So
yeah, you really need to take it out quickly. Like if you can get the 3 hammer pokes, like if you can get him while he's doing like the sword or the tail attack or something, or even like, you know, despawn the fire attack, you can get those in. But yeah, as soon as he starts moving, it's probably safer just to go for sword spins or sword spins and sword slashes as opposed to hammer pokes.
I think when I first started using arrows, but then I found that I was way too out of arrows towards the end, and it was taxing the count. So,
yeah, the 8 arrows are tough to get when he's moving left and right. You gotta get those moments where he's using the tail attack or whatever to just like walk right up to his face and just like mash arrows into him. Yeah, for a while, the hammer jump and Helma was always like the gatekeeper for me. I always mess those up.
Well, yeah. Well, so when I started this run, when I started running this, probably at the end of last year, it's probably like December, November. So you start to think like, oh man, like I'm getting all these 150s, 140s, like I'm never gonna get lowest left now, so I'm not even gonna bother with things like hammer jump or that kind of thing. But then you start working those into your game, and a lot of these tricks are a lot easier than they look if you put the time in for them.
Mm-hmm. And the hardest part is like if you mess up a bomb jump, you just go right back in and you just get it. You focus in and get it. You don't get frantic, start making more mistakes. Same with the hammer jump, because like if you mess it up, you just go off the room, walk back in, try again. Don't even think about it. Don't even fret. Like, don't look at your time. Don't look at your PBs. Don't look at your reds. Especially if you're still in the 130, 140 range.
Yeah, tilt is a huge factor I've noticed in some of these games, because you can spiral out of control one silly death. Like especially in the light world, you got to try not to let those things like falls to Moldorm usually crush me. Like I get so annoyed, so tilted by those things. So people that keep their cool definitely going to do better on average, right?
Yeah, of course. It's a mentality thing. It's just as much, you know, coordination as mentality and consistency and skill, and all plays hand in hand. I'm still messing up Hera bomb jump somehow.
I fall down there way too much.
I need to figure out different, because like I'll go for like the dash buffer to back up to the hole, but like that's good for if I want to just bomb and not do the bonk. But then I still do the bonk, but then I still fall or like mess up. So I don't know. It's because I have this mentality like, oh, here comes Hera, I'm gonna mess it up, and then I mess it up. If I just go in and just do it, then.
Well, that's the problem. Is like there are things. It's like I don't know if you guys do this or experience this when you're doing a run. The thing that killed your last run always weighs so heavily on my mind when I come up to it. So if it was Helma or Ice Palace Bomb Jump, you're like, oh, I don't want to get all the way here again and lose to this and lose the run again to this garbage.
Yeah, I don't know. Usual culprit for me is Helma Star King or Blind.
blind can get away from you as well. And especially if you die once to blind, like the refight is always worse because you don't have that free first cycle. And the only time, like it can be easier if you make sure you go back into that fight with full health. Sword beams can mitigate some of the difficulty in that fight.
Oh, for sure. But collecting hearts in that dungeon is like, then you start getting to the point where you're like, oh man, collecting all these hearts is going to take so long. So you try to like mitigate all this time, you skip the hearts, and then you just make the fight way harder than it needs to be.
All right, but Shay heading into the final dungeon before G Tower. Sitting at 4.5 hearts, might still have that safety fairy as well. Hopefully this one goes pretty well. This dungeon is evil. A lot of... Sorry, that dead rock from Griff is just a beautiful sight to see. Best enemy in the game. Can't even deny it.
That is one word for those evil squirrel monsters.
Nice backup strat by Shay. Missing that the lighting the torch, but it can still light it even if it's not on screen. Okay.
I did not know that. I actually just learned that. I thought that every time I'd messed up that hook, I'd assume that you just could not get in there.
Yeah, it's different from like, for instance, like the Cane of Samaria. As soon as if you pop one of the Cane of Samarias, like the little burst, as soon as they hit the side of the screen, they despawn. But the fire rod shots will travel, I don't know how much further, but a little bit further. I know in certain situations, in certain game types, you can hit the crystal switch at the entrance to Tower of Hera with the fire rod or ice rod or whatever, even if it's off screen.
These are tips and tricks that I need to internalize for backup strats.
Yeah. Oh man, in my run today, those berries were awful too. It's like the one that first one you run into, like perfectly times when to turn on switch on his lightning, and of course if you attack them while they're doing their lightning, it like stuns you in place. So then the platform keeps moving and then you fall.
Yeah, you get dropped right off. I've just learned. I've been told to just if you're gonna get hit at that is what fate has ordained, and you're gonna get hit by them. So just let it happen.
Well, here's the thing. It happened again, except like I was on top of one of the platforms where you walk off to go to the fire rod hookshot room, and so instead it just knocked me in the hole. I'm like, can I catch a break, please? Speaking of catching a break, whew, Shay getting a nice movement from the right chain shot, moving out of the way just in time.
So, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Go on your merry way. Nothing to see here.
I did get a chance to pop into Shay's stream, and he's really on a tear. I mean, this is one of his best runs. As we mentioned before, 315 is currently Shay's PB. It's looking like he's gonna, if he has a pretty good Turtle Rock here, really catch up on his previous PB by possibly as much as 20 minutes.
Huh, I do not remember what the 20-minute PB sounds like, but that sounds like heaven. My goodness. Seen those big fat numbers on the side of your. Seen those huge numbers, huge gains. Definitely the progress. It definitely makes you feel good when you're running for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in that territory myself. Unfortunately, I just keep dying.
As soon as you can stop dying, like the PBs, they just roll in. But yeah, that's the hardest part. It's so easy to die in this game.
Why do you keep dying? Why won't you just stop doing that? I don't
Listen, just take my advice, all right? Stop dying.
A wise man once told me, just don't get hit.
Just don't get hit. Easy. Easy every time.
This room is there's just things bouncing around. There's no easy way to get around it.
Yeah, I still struggle getting through that room without getting hit by a bunny beam or getting shot by a laser. It's either one or the other.
I struggle to not powder the 4 anti-fairies every time because it just looks amazing.
It's very satisfying to kill them all at once. Especially don't die after you beat the boss. Can't stress that enough. Life hacks right there.
Once you put a boss into the dirt, just leave him there. Just leave him there.
Oh, taking down one of the pokies. Getting pretty much the same RNG I think Gref got. Not able to utilize the double kill.
Getting the double pokey spin on a run is euphoric.
It's like getting the God Pixel. The dream.
I thought it was a myth.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
but
got
if the-
guys just like literally in your way. Like, what do you do about it?
The God Pixel doesn't work all the time. If you have any north-south Patrick stars, cannot do it.
Now, this is a room that I learned how to do, forgot it, and then relearned it. But because of how the rooms work, as soon as you enter in the previous room with the pokey where you bonk the door, it also loads up that room as well. So you want to get in there as fast as possible, and then there's like a double Cane of Samaria trick that you can use, and just utilizing iframes to get through that without running into.
Yeah, if you just come in, and the thing is, you also have to make sure that you hit the proper switch coming out of the first pokey room. So you kind of come in, lay a brick to the right, shoot it instantly, get to the chest, and use the iframes on the pegs too. So it's a pretty slick looking trick if you can get it, if you can time it down.
And the punishment's only 4 hearts of damage per jump.
Only.
That room gives me nightmares. Not only that, but I mean, it's a Mario enemy. What's up with that? I guess there's arguments about that, though, because Chain Chomps do show up in Link's Awakening.
Actually, there also is, in the Sea House, there is a nifty portrait of Mario the next time you're in there. Be on the
Don't even
lookout
get
for
me
that.
started on Zelda's Courtyard, Ocarina of Time.
Well, that's just a different animal. Utilizing now, this is actually a pretty smart backup strat here, using that back door. So if you take a death here, you'll start there instead of all the way back at the start of the dungeon, which, I mean, ideally you don't want to die, but I mean, if things are going to happen, because this switch, this is a pretty difficult skip and something I struggled with when I first started the game.
So our death here is no harm, no foul. It's going to put us right back where we were.
Yeah, because you just want to be a couple steps right above that laser and slide in there as soon as you can. Maybe Shay's going to utilize... There are some if you mirror there is a cave you can go into to get some fairies. It is pretty time-consuming, but one of those things where if you get the fairy, you can just walk into that laser, take the fairy, use the iframes, and kind of get that chest.
Proved to be a frustrating skip.
Yeah, no, it's something that I have struggled with, for sure. Now, you said, so how long have you been doing this game? Because I know that we were talking about safeties, me and Willard were talking about safeties prior to this. Now, do you still take some safeties? And you have like ones you actually like?
So right now, I only recently, probably a couple of weeks before the tournament, even got to a point where I could wait until after Palace of Darkness for stuff like powder. I still take the net, although recently I've kind of been trying to get away from that. I've never taken gold and silvers because, I mean, once you kind of figure out the Ganon fight, that's really the big thing you need it for anyway.
That is absolutely true. And so Shay finally got through that and will be making his way towards Trinex, but utilizing those safeties. But I've noticed that it's something that this group stages has been really, really good at, is showing some of these backup strats, some of these things that maybe you notice that you're not the only person taking safeties. It's not just these incredible 125 runners doing the game. There are some 130s, 140s going on, and there are strats for everyone to do,
Absolutely. And, when it comes to people kind of trying to get their times down, trying to figure out when it's the right time to get rid of this stuff, I mean, you kind of want to practice the strats. I would use that practice hack because it's a really great way to, get reliable results. But until you can do these, more difficult strats every single time consistently, you're not going to see like a massive time save from attempting them in a run. It's much more worth it to just focus on getting the 0 deaths, getting clean movement. Any room that requires you to kill enemies, you want to be very fast at that. If you can get to those things and your fast boss kills, you're going to get more results out of those than trying to save the half a minute or minute and a half even from picking up, certain safeties like gold sword or silver arrows.
No, it's like, and I think that a couple of the top runners have always told me, you just need to, whatever works for you, don't worry about what other people do when it comes to safeties. If you live and you can get yourself consistent in whatever you feel comfortable with, and finishing runs. So like, Shay's doing a great job here. You're getting out here, not doing non-reset runs, just playing through the game as many times as you can to get actually comfortable with all the mechanics before you start grinding the small stuff. So Buttersword actually making this pretty easy. We got we got a slick ice rink going on here, little ice hockey. Missing some of these fire out shots. You do not want to run out of magic here. Gold Sword should make this short work. If we can get another shot on that.
Perfect.
Nice.
And then we should see a very fast last phase as well, thanks to the Butter Sword.
Yeah, so now the spin won't do any more damage than a normal Butter Sword slash, but it will get you the double there.
And of course, a little bit of extra separation if you're worried about getting hit.
Oof.
With that fairy, though, we should be okay.
So hopefully, Shay can use the iframes there. Just walk through, get that last slash. There we go. And that's 7 crystals down. Because Trinex isn't one of those bosses that people generally struggle with, but the game assumes that you have blue mail at this point, and gold sword, and silver, so it thinks that you could take a lot more damage than you can. So coming in here with green mail is a difficult thing indeed. Gonna get through that massive cutscene with Zelda. She's been tracking this thing for about an hour now.
ACM in chat pointing out that that was 20 minutes of time save.
My goodness. 20 minutes time to keep it up. We'd love to see a huge PB here. I mean, take any runner and face it against Kyong. It might be pretty difficult to handle, so it's really good on Shay to just keep plugging along. Getting a huge PB here would be great, so just got to keep it nice and consistent. That's a tough dungeon just came out of. Ooh, it looks like we might be running a little late on the time here. I think we do have another tournament coming up, Tina Hacks and Feral Pigman. So I want to thank everyone for watching. Please stick around for our next match. So we have this nice marathon of runs going on. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Yuta, for sticking around and doing some commentary with me.
Thank you.
Yes, again, I'm Lanks down here. I'm Yuta Mosik. Please follow our runners that we had, that nice 4-way race, getting a lot of excitement going on. Please follow, as you know, Willow J. Bradley, I'm just going to go Yuta here because I think I butchered your name too many times. So I want to thank you very much, and I'll stick around for your next race. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, folks.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. This was a lot of fun. Take it easy.
All right, it's going to be hard to top that one, but we are going to try our best. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another No Major Glitches tournament for Link to the Past. I am joined by Oglib tonight. What's up, dude?
How's it going, everybody? I'm doing all right. Hope you're doing well also. A pretty good race we got here between Tina Hacks and Feral Pigman. Should be an exciting one.
Absolutely. We have Feral Pigman with Tina. Just to give you a little backstory, Feral Pigman has a current PB in the 130s. Tina has a 139 as well.
Yeah, Tina, pretty brand new to this category. I think she just started running it about a month and a half ago and has already gotten like a 139. So pretty good start for her. You might know her from her Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap run. She's also in the Shantae tournament that's going on right now. So she speedruns a lot of different things. Meanwhile, Feral Pigman, pretty well known classic Mega runner, Mega Man 5, 3, and 2 looks like, but has also dabbled with Link to the Past as well. So pretty cool to see people from all walks of speedrunning life coming to join this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say also Feral somewhat has been running for about 8 months now and is down to a 130, which is a really good time in that short of a time span.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like the countdown has counted down, so we're going to get started here real quick.